was his own. Enthusiasm the conservatives have for this one issue. They can certainly continue to talk about the We Charity and spin conspiracy theories. We're going to stay focused on delivering for Canadians.
Can you hear me?
No, still on.
Can you hear me?
There's a double mute. If you look on your headset, there might be a mute on that as well. That one might be the one that's on.
Mr. Speaker, we can hear him.
We can hear him.
Yeah, we hear him on Zoom.
We hear you, Paul.
Okay, you know what? We'll maybe go to the honourable member for Kitchener-Conestoga, and then we'll come back to the honourable member for Nanaimo Ladysmith afterwards. The honourable member for Kitchener-Conestoga.
Mr. Speaker, in Kitchener-Conestoga, we continue working hard to make sure we're safely staying connected. In 2020...
Is there a member out there who's not on mute? I think everything... wait a minute.
Mr. Speaker, we can hear them. The
Let me
problem
just
is
check
only in
with
the
the
chamber.
technical folks, and we'll see if we can get everything straightened out.
On comprend bien, du Nouveau-Brunswick.
So the problem is in the chamber.
It's here.
We can hear him in Newfoundland.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to speak out against hate in all its forms. Tomorrow is Holocaust Remembrance Day. It is a stark reminder of the atrocities that can occur when we don't speak up against hate. On January 6th, we watched as Capitol Hill in Washington was stormed by a mob of insurrectionists, white supremacists, and hate groups, cheered on by leaders who spread misinformation and promoted vigilantism. In Nanaimo Ladysmith, racism raised its ugly head on social media and in the community when there was a COVID outbreak in the Nanaimo First Nation. Ignorance about the effect of colonization on Indigenous health outcomes was on full display. Chief Wise rightly said the burden of addressing racism needs to come off the shoulders of Indigenous people. Indeed, it needs to come off the shoulders of all who are affected by racism and bigotry. Together, we have a responsibility to combat hate in all its forms. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For those who are in the House, if you don't mind to hear what's being said, the speakers are not quite loud enough or aren't quite working, but if you put your headset or your earpiece on, you should be able to hear everything. The honourable member for Kitchener-Conestoga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in Kitchener-Conestoga, we continue working hard to make sure we safely stay connected. In 2020, we learned that virtual events help keep constituents up to date on important issues and allow their voices to be heard. I'm proud to say we're coming up on our 25th virtual town hall featuring local leaders discussing important community issues. Guests have included mayors, elected officials, community service groups, economic development representatives, environmentalist groups, diversity and inclusivity advocates, veterans, guests from various economic sectors, and even in the end of the year town hall that featured some holiday music. The success of these virtual town halls is due to the contributions of everyone who shares their ideas in these engaging discussions. I feel grateful and inspired to be part of these important conversations, and I appreciate everyone's involvement in these meaningful dialogues. I'd like to invite Kitchener-Conestoga to view our past town halls online and encourage them to participate at our next one. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Chatham-Kent-Leamington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The first of over 14,000 essential guest workers are beginning to arrive in the Windsor-Essex region for this year's agricultural season. Leamington Mayor Hilda MacDonald has called me and both the federal and provincial levels of government to be accountable for these workers. Together with Kingsville Mayor Nelson Santos and Warden Gary McNamara, they continue to press for more effective oversight of guest workers within their communities. Good for them. They are deserving of better answers than those to date. Together with my colleagues from Essex, Windsor-Tecumseh, and Windsor West, we are working across party lines and jurisdictions to develop the answers the municipalities and local communities need. We look forward to working with industry to address these challenges for our more sustainable regional economy and quality of life for all, including our essential guest workers. Thank you, Mayor MacDonald, for your leadership.
Honourable member for Malpeque.
Mr. Speaker, with great respect, I recognize Mr. Stuart Thiessen of Saskatoon, who passed away this month. Stuart worked in the farm movement for 41 years with the Saskatchewan Farmers Union and later the National Farmers Union. He was the wordsmith behind so much of what the NFU stood for, holding the pen that drafted hundreds of presentations to provincial and federal governments. Stuart was gifted in turning ideas into words and turning those words into calls for action. A founding member of the Saskatchewan Agriculture Hall of Fame, he served on the Labour Relations Board, Stats Canada Advisory Committee, and was a founding director of the Saskatoon Community Clinic, where he fought for accessible health care for all. As well, he was awarded an honorary doctorate of laws from the U of S and inducted into the Agriculture Hall of Fame. Stuart loved to play the musical keyboards and host friends and family at his cabin on Emma Lake. Stuart, you are truly one of Canada's best.
L'honorable député de...
The honourable member for Shefford. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Every January, the Alzheimer's Society organizes Awareness Month in order to shine the spotlights on neurocognitive disorders as well as their impact on people. Let's listen to the victims and their families, their caregivers and health professionals, especially in this pandemic when they're more isolated than ever. Like Lynn, for example, a human resources professional. Nothing had prepared her for becoming a caregiver when her husband, Yves, got his diagnosis at the young age of 63. Life doesn't stop with Alzheimer's. Maintaining social connections and daily activities that are stimulating are crucial in order to maintain one's place in the community. Awareness is the first step in fighting judgment and discrimination, strengthening human rights, and bringing about policy change, and whatever else is needed to help people with neurocognitive disorders. For the sake of all the victims and their loved ones, we have a duty to remember them so they're not forgotten. Thank you. The honourable member for Glengarry, Prescott Russell. Mr. Speaker, in this time of lockdown, many parents are experiencing something new, online school. As a parent myself, I'd like to thank the teachers of Glengarry, Prescott Russell, who are spending an incredible amount of time online with our kids. All across the country, teachers are displaying imagination and creativity to motivate young people for online school. In particular, I'd like to mention the work of a grade 7 and 8 teacher at Embrun Catholic Middle School, Danica Belil. Every day, she wears different costumes and disguises to keep up her students' spirits in these difficult times. Our kids are our future, and they too are having a rough time these days, and every day from coast to coast, they're supported by determined teachers who every day are making a difference in our children's lives. Long live teachers.
The honourable member for Simcoe Grey.
Mr. Speaker, operating a small business is difficult in good times. Operating one during COVID is a struggle. For those who opened a new business in 2020, it's been a nightmare. The Canada Emergency Business Account is supposed to help small businesses, but new ones are being turned away instead. My constituent, Laura Lee Gamby, signed her lease in February 2020, but did not open until August. She is not eligible for CEBA. Michelle Joyce and Kevin Thompson didn't get a CRA number for the restaurant before March 31st. They can't get help. Chris Brackle opened his gym right before this pandemic hit, and he has been denied assistance. Dr. Charlton, a longtime chiropractor, just updated her CRA number in March because she no longer has staff. Now she can't get help because she's considered a new business. I could go on. Mr. Speaker, the rules preventing new businesses from getting help need to change. The government needs to fix CEBA and help our new entrepreneurs now. Thank you.
The honourable member for Humber River, Black Creek.
Mr. Speaker, while the COVID-19 pandemic has caused tremendous hardship in our communities, it has also presented an opportunity for our Canadian spirit of kindness and generosity to shine through. In my wonderful riding of Humber River Black Creek, Dennis Kastrisno is one of those wonderful individuals. Dennis and his great team of volunteers have been heroes in our community, delivering bundles of food and personal protective equipment to over 500 residents and organizing fundraisers for those in our community worst affected by this pandemic. His contribution and his wife and family's dedication to Humber River Black Creek is a reminder to us all that even in dark times, we can all strive to do better and exemplify what it means to be Canadians. Thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Sault Ste. Marie.
Mr. Speaker, in past years, I have risen in the House and invited all members of Parliament to join me in Sault Ste. Marie for Bon Sioux, our annual winter celebration. This year, however, the 58th Bon Sioux Winter Carnival will be transformed from a predominantly outdoor event to an online virtual event. But make no mistake about it, Bon Sioux is on. And this year, with a click of the keyboard, you can all join us for one of Canada's best winter carnivals. This year, we will not be gathering to watch fireworks or shooting down the ice bum slides or braving a polar bear dip, but the spirit of Bon Sioux is as strong as ever with online contests, games, and more scheduled for February 5th to the 15th. Mr. Speaker, reinventing a winter carnival has been a challenge for our awesome organizers and volunteers, but I'm proud to see the essence of Bon Sioux, a celebration of winter in Northern Ontario, continues to thrive even in the middle of a pandemic. Happy Bon Sioux, everybody.
The honourable member for West Nova.
Mr. Speaker, I find myself once again talking about tragedy in West Nova and commemorating lives lost. On December 15th, the Chief William Salas, a sculler dragger out of Yarmouth, sank in the Bay of Fundy. Lost were Captain Charles Roberts and fishermen Michael Drake, Daniel Forbes, Gino Francis, and Leonard Gabriel. There is always danger to lose lives at sea, and sadly, these 6 hardworking men lost their lives providing for their families. While the RCMP and Coast Guard have found the sunken vessel in 60 meters of water, only one body has been returned for burial.
Less than a month later, on January 10th, search and rescue was called into the small community of Morris Island, where Kenneth and his wife Noreen had gone missing on their way to their cottage on a neighboring island. Searchers were able to locate Noreen's body, but it took fishermen a few days to recover Kenneth's.
We need to thank the Canadian Forces Search and Rescue, Ground Search and Rescue Teams, Coast Guard, RCMP, and the hundreds of volunteers.